Beyond the headlines, the noise, the spin, we seek the stories that live within. Past party lines, past powers disguised, we hear the truth in everyday lives. A space for voices, both gentle and strong. Beyond politics, where we all belong.
Hi everyone, my name is Jin Qian. Welcome to Beyond Politics on Ozark Media. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by the member for Bankstown, the Honourable Jihad Dib MP, Minister for Emergency Services, Minister for Customer Service and Digital Government, and Minister for Youth Justice. The Bankstown electorate includes partially or wholly the suburbs of Bankstown, Beverly Hills, Chullora, Condell Park, Greenacre, Lakemba, Mount Lewis, Narwee, Punchbowl, Revesby, Riverwood, Roselands, Wally Park, and Yagoona, and is a vibrant and multicultural melting pot in southwestern Sydney. Welcome, Jihad.
Jen, great to be here. Nice to see you again. What
Nice
an
to
introduction as well.
Nice to see you again. Now, your story in itself is already a local legend that's been told and retold in our local area. But for those that don't know, before becoming an MP, who were you and what shaped your values growing up?
Well, thanks, Jen, and I think I'm very humbled by that. But I mean, my most recent role was the principal of Punchbowl Boys High School, and I think that's where the story comes from. That I was the principal there. I was the youngest principal in the state when I was appointed there, so I was very proud of that.
Yeah.
But more importantly, we managed to turn the whole school around, and that was something that we did together. And I say we, because I get the story a lot, but I had a whole team around me, and we all worked very, very well together. But it was a school that a lot of people had given up on, but we never gave up on it, and we saw young men transform their lives and change their lives and built it as a community hub and a community centre. And I'm really pleased to see, 12 years after I've left the school, I'm seeing other schools do a lot of the things that we do, even basic things like greeting the children at the front, making sure we had parent-teacher nights where I was there always. Prior to that, I've been a teacher all my life, so that's really fantastic. And coming to Australia as a young 3-year-old, I went through a long time when I wasn't at school because we'd go back to Lebanon, come to Australia, go back to Lebanon. It wasn't until about year 5. But ultimately, what I think I was able to show, particularly in those most recent years before I went into politics, was my commitment to community, and especially through education. And the thing that I think when it's all over and I'm an old man, older than I am now, I'll be thinking about the young boys' lives that we changed.
Okay, let's talk about the school then. Yes, from 2007 to 2014, you were the school principal, and the story of transforming the school is well known. But what kind of initial resistance did you face?
The kids, to begin with, the young boys weren't used to someone telling them what they had to do, and I think it was being strict, but also strict with being caring. So there really were a situation where the boys would just do what they wanted to do. And, I had great teachers, but no one was listening to them. I had the community that was disconnected from the school. So I wanted to bring the boys, I wanted to bring the teachers, I wanted to bring the families all together and say, this is our school. We all own this school. We're all responsible for the school. We all believe in this school. We all believe in this community. But the initial resistance was, trying to bring structure and routine when that hadn't existed and trying to say, no, I'm sorry, this is not acceptable. But I think, and this is what I've carried through my whole life, if you let people know where you're at, why you're doing what you're doing, give them a sense of ownership, a sense of belonging, a sense of love and a sense of care, then I think you can be strict. And that's what it was. Like, boys didn't get away with doing the wrong thing. There was a consequence. But also when they were in trouble, they knew that I would support them. And we had young boys who, family life was very difficult. Young boys who were a little bit lost, young boys who might have been thinking about joining gangs, young boys who didn't believe that they had the potential to go to university. So it was changing their mindset, and they knew that I would do that. The other thing that was really important is they would see that I would work harder than anybody else. So sometimes I would go, even on weekends, to see the boys play football. And that meant something to them because many of them didn't have a father figure or a good adult male role model. And they started to change their attitude. But the initial resistance was just because people have the walls up. That's perfectly normal.
Were there any students that, despite your best efforts, just did not listen and still didn't care about their studies?
There would have been a few, probably in the early days, Jin. But it's really funny because I still see now so many in the local area, and they'll come up, often give me a hug. They'll introduce me to, if they have the children or some of them have got married. They're very proud. I always say to them, I'm very proud of the young man that you've become and the man you've become. I was at an event ironically, only on Sunday. It was a condolence event for somebody. And this young man comes up to me and he gives me a big hug. And I said, I remember the face. And he told me. Then this other boy comes up, shakes my hand. Anyway, both of them now married, kids. They've got on with their life. And that's what to me was success. Sometimes we measure success by whether you go to university or what position you have. I measure success by if you're a decent person. And if you're a good person, you went down the right path. Of course, there were some in those early times that I don't know, because it was really difficult. But there's so many more stories of things where young boys became good men. And we had this mural painted in the school. And it just simply said, where good men grow. We wanted to grow good men, like a tree. I wanted these to become good men. And we talked about what makes a good man. A good man is someone who's honest, who's decent, who's hardworking, who cares about other people, has a social conscience. Like we started talking about what goodness was.
Like yourself.
Well, I try to be.
Going down that career path, you could have become a successful executive within the education department, for example. Why did you choose politics?
It took me a long time. It was funny, politics wasn't the thing that I was thinking about. I was loving my job and I love what I do. And I remember when I had to leave, I said to one of the boys, he came to me in the playground and goes, so you're leaving? I said, I'm not leaving to go to another school. There's nothing better than this. I'm leaving to do something completely different. Because I did think, don't know if I could ever leave that school. Because I was telling everyone, this is the best school. So imagine if I then left school to go to another place. I'm then saying to them, no, to me, that was the best school. And we wanted to make it the best school, no matter what. We didn't care. To us, it was the best. But politics kind of came calling. And in the end, it was a very difficult decision to make. And it took me about 3 years to make the decision, which is a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, people normally go, oh, yes, I want to take the opportunity. But we were changing kids' lives. I don't think I could ever explain how much we were changing lives. People were asking about education. People were having a look at what we were doing at the school and implementing it. Internationally, they were implementing it. Across the country, they were implementing it. And I don't know, maybe I didn't know that I wanted to be in the department per se. It's very good. But going to politics in the end was about, okay, if I can do this for this little group and this little community, imagine if I had the same attitude and that same desire to make a change, if we can do it on a statewide level. And that's kind of what it was. But I think there was another part of me that said, I tell the kids that you should never stop dreaming and you could be anything you want to be. And it's important for people to see representation. And I wanted to be that person they could look at and go, you know what, he's done it. I can do it. Because sometimes you become that role model. And I get young people coming up to me a lot and say, when I grow up, I want to be like you. And I go, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be more. I want you to be better. I want you to be higher. So maybe that first bit, there was a little bit of a proving to our community, our local community, that we can be there, that we belong, that we're part of that Australian story.
And indeed, you were the first Muslim MP ever elected to the New South Wales Lower House, and we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Okay, being such a idealistic young man, and I say that because I watched a lot of your interviews during that time. Your face glowed with pride whenever you talked about the school, and sometimes I could see tears as well. Okay, being such an idealistic, passionate young man, going into politics, what were the challenges?
Staying young. I've aged a lot since then. I think being realistic, and I actually said it in my inaugural speech. I actually said, I'll never forget this. I still remember my inaugural speech, which is my first speech in Parliament. And I said that people might say that I'm an idealist, but I like being an idealist because if you have ideals, then you dream. And if you don't dream, then you don't aspire to do more. So to me, the biggest challenge is maintaining that, always being positive, always being passionate, always believing that you're making a difference. And the moment you stop making a difference or you lose your passion, you shouldn't be doing it anymore. Because I don't think it's fair to my electorate of 70,000, 80,000 people who say, we want you to be represented. The least they should expect of me is that I still think in that same way. And every now and then I go back to my inaugural speech and I read it again. And I read it because I ask myself one question, do I still believe this? And, thanks to God, I still believe it. And I'll keep doing it. The moment that I stop believing in it anymore, I don't think it's the right thing. Like, I'm not there just so I can say, I'm a member of Parliament, I'm a minister. I'm there because I want to do good. When I can't do it anymore, somebody else has a go.
And before long, your passion took you further and you became a minister. We're not necessarily going into depth of each of your portfolios, but youth justice, for example, is a soft spot in your heart.
How would anyone? How would you know?
I know. How have your school principal experiences helped you, and how are you getting young offenders back on track?
It is a soft spot. I love all my portfolios. If anyone, all my portfolios watching, I love you all. All of you are like my kids. I don't have a favorite, but there's some that I like more at different times. But youth justice is my soft spot because, of course, youth justice reminds me of the young boys at school. That maybe life didn't give them the best opportunities and they ended up in the wrong path. And they can go down that wrong path and things can get a lot worse, but maybe there's a chance to make a change. And so I keep wanting that. And when the Premier was, when I was privileged enough to become a minister, I actually asked for youth justice.
Yes.
And that's something that you don't normally ask a portfolio, and you certainly don't ask for youth justice. And someone said to me, I thought you were friends with the Premier. Why would he give you that one? And I said, I asked for it. And they go, why? And they go, that's a tough portfolio. But I love that portfolio. I spend a lot of time there with the young boys, mostly young boys. There's a few girls in there, but it's mostly young boys. But the same principles apply for me. So we're looking at, firstly, not once they come into the youth detention centre, so like a jail for young people, they've already had a lot of bad things happen before that. What I want to do is to take it back, like look at when I was at the school, the root cause. Before they get to this end point, what was happening there that was not right, that we could make a change so they go down a different path. So those things are very important. So before they actually get into trouble, how do we stop them from getting into trouble? What are the things that are missing? And then when they do get into trouble, how do we help them not go down a very, very dark path? Because sadly, Jin, what I want is I want to change the situation where people go from young jail into an adult jail. Because once they get into the adult jail, it's much, much harder to change them. But we're doing programs like a big fan of education programs. I'm doing work programs. So I want a young person while they're in there to learn a new skill. And then to be able to connect them to somebody who will give them a job so that they have something to do. So they stay away from trouble. We've just managed to get some funding, and I'm really proud of that, some funding for local community groups to do programs, again, to stop them before they get there. This is called diversion. We've just opened up a place in Moree in the countryside, where there's been a lot of problems with youth crime for bail accommodation. So when they're on bail, some of them don't have somewhere safe to go. Let's put them somewhere safe. Let's give them support services so they don't go down that wrong path. So that belief that everybody is redeemable, everybody has got potential, but we have to create the pathway for them.
Well said. And food for thought as well. Food for thought.
I mean, we always talk, again, same as a school, and I say this in Parliament, no one is getting away with doing the wrong thing. There's got to be a consequence. But the consequence has to be about changing behaviour, not about revenge.
Yes.
We want them to change their behaviour. And so it's that real deep thinking about how do we change that. You do the wrong thing, you deserve the consequence. But once you've served that consequence, what do? Don't we give you another chance to try and rehabilitate, to make a change to your life, to have a better life? That's what we need to do.
Service New South Wales is another beast on its own.
It's
because the fact of the matter is it has to work with a lot of government departments to make things work. But in reality, on a day-to-day basis, Service New South Wales bears the brunt of licensing delays, high costs, cost of living pressures. How do you deal with that?
So, you talk about agencies. There's over 70 agencies. So Service New South Wales is the government, call it the government door, the government face. But when we do license, for example, that's for transport. When we do things, it's for maritime. When we do working with children's checks, it's for the Office of Children. So we do all the transactions for different organisations. But it's good because we try and make it simple. They're outstanding. I was only in Service Centre in Bega last week, which is far south coast. Then I was in Correa, I was in Bankstown, I'm in Revesby again in a couple of days. Revesby just been refurbished. They're brilliant people in the Service New South Wales Centre, but they are the front face of government, and sometimes people are frustrated when things happen. All I would say to them is don't get frustrated at these are like the messengers. They're not the person who's making the decision. They're just following things through. But as an organisation, they are amazing. And when people think about the old RTA days when it was like not as welcoming and long lines and more unpleasant. This is a very, very different feel.
Yeah.
But the one thing that we're working on, if I could use a bit of an example to do a promotion, the one thing that I love and we continue working on and we're doing a lot more on is my sense of inclusion. We represent an area that's very, very multicultural. 40% of the people in New South Wales, either them or their parents, speak a language other than English. For a long time, we weren't considering what works for different communities.
Yes.
So when you walk into a service centre, you will see a bit of a reflection of that community. And I think that's really, really important. It's like it says, you're welcome here. I can understand you. You feel comfortable. That's that thing that I talk about, inclusion. And that works so well. But it is outstanding. Like Service New South Wales, digital government. I mean, there was a whole one minister in the previous government that's what he dealt with.
Yes.
So I have that, then I have the emergency services and then the youth justice.
So many portfolios.
But they're big, they're good portfolios. They're great portfolios because they're people oriented and I'm a people person.
Okay, and let's talk about some challenges and opportunities.
Yeah.
Given the conflicts that are happening overseas at the moment, how should we maintain social cohesion and manage community sentiment?
I think, look, and I've been very clear about what's happening overseas. I've made my point, particularly about Gaza, but right now we're seeing what's happening in Lebanon. But there's lots of conflicts happening all around the world. I think I'd love, like anybody else, I want to see peace. And I want to see justice and fairness across the world. Modern Australia is made up of people from all over the world. And we work together and we live together. And I say, yes, I'm a Lebanese person, Lebanese-born, Australian, Islamic faith. I could be talking to someone from China, for example, whose family is from China, who has a different faith or no faith. That doesn't make us different other than those things. If you're a good person and I'm a good person, we should be friends and we should be able to get along. And so I think when we talk about that in Australia, it's about that social cohesion, that we need to respect each other. I come to the word respect because respect means that I recognise that you're different and you recognise that I'm different and this person's different. But we're looking for the things that unite us, and the things that unite us are decency, compassion, kindness. I don't have to agree with you, and you don't have to agree with me, but I have to respect your view. And I've got to hear where you're coming from, and I've got to understand where you're coming from. So for me, that issue of social cohesion is understanding one another and saying, you know what, we've created this great country where we are a great example to the world, where people from every single colour, religion, background, somehow we work together. And that doesn't happen by accident. We work really, really hard on it. It happens because there's a Chinese person who's delivering a program in Arabic, or a Arabic person who goes out to the countryside to talk to the RFS who they've never met, a Muslim person before, or a Vietnamese person like we have in Bankstown who came on a boat, who's built a great business. We respect one another. And I think that's how it works. But that's why representation counts. And when I'm sitting in Parliament, I'm so proud when I see somebody like Jason Lee, when I see someone like Charisma Caliander, when I see someone like Trevo who came here on a boat, when I see people who I know, there'll be young people and older people who look up to them and say, yes, we belong. That's what I think is social cohesion, giving everyone respect, giving everyone a space, and disagreeing respectfully. It's okay to disagree, and it's okay to have an opinion. And I should have my opinion. You should allow me to, in the same way that I allow you to have yours. But I'm not going to attack you just for the sake of attacking you.
No. Okay, continuing on the community and looking ahead, what have you got for us for the coming months?
Well, the metro. The metro. The metro is the biggest thing. I mean, it does come down to community. The first thing I am before I'm a minister is the member for Bankstown. And that's the first job, and I've got to say, without being a member for Bankstown, I'm not going to be a minister. But every 4 years, there's people in my community who say, we want you to be our voice, our representative. So we have that. Obviously, that's a really exciting thing.
Oh, wow.
It's going to make such a difference. Like I wrote it the other day because they're doing the testing phase now, and people have been patient, but we have to do the testing. We've got to do it right. The Bankstown Hospital, which I'm really proud of, that wouldn't have happened where it is without us being in government. And it was meant to be $1.3 billion. It's now a $2 billion project.
Wow.
The biggest hospital build, public hospital in New South Wales history. And we're not getting a little hospital. We're getting the proper full hospital because our community deserves it. Our community deserves to have the best. Our community deserves as better as anybody else does. So there are those things. There's investments in schools that we're making. So there's the Iguna Public School is getting a preschool. Chalora is getting one. There's a number in our area. But of course, the challenges for us is cost of living is a real challenge.
Yes.
And people are struggling.
Yes.
Houses are expensive. Impacts of things that are happening overseas are creating a problem for us. The price of petrol, it's not in our control, but it becomes our problem. So we're working on those sorts of things. But for me, the most important thing that I see for our community is celebrating who we are. You know, whether you go through any of those suburbs that you mentioned earlier on, that's to me the Australian story. And sometimes I worry, particularly when, you know, the leader of the federal opposition was talking about immigration in a negative way and going, we're a community where everyone's migrated and look at us. Don't pit one against the other. Don't make you feel less Australian or me feel less Australian than somebody else. We're all Australian. We just come at it from different ways.
Okay, to wrap up then, I usually ask my guests to use one word to describe what motivates them every day. I'm not going to ask you that because I know your word will be people. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to.
It is. It's people. It's making a difference. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to ask you another question.
Okay.
Are you still that passionate and idealistic man you once were, who believed everything is possible?
Yeah. Yeah. I am, and I still believe everything's possible. Maybe the difference is now I know that it's not as easy as I thought it might have been. But you should never lose that passion. You should never lose that idealism. Every single door can be opened. It's just some of them get opened in different ways. And every single road, there's a path. Once you lose that passion and idealism, you lose the sense of good. I still believe that people are good. I still believe the world is good. I still believe community is good. I still believe politics is good. And with all of that, I do the best that I can. So 100%. And, you know, all you got to do is see me around a community. You know that passion will never go away. I believe in our community. And that's a really important thing. Like, I celebrate who we are. And I love telling our stories in Parliament. And I love meeting people. But I love also that idea of making a change. And all of us own that change.
And indeed, your face is glowing with pride, just like the interview from a long time ago that I watched.
Thank you.
Now, thank you, Jihad, for your time today. And thank you for being a great community representative. Once again, my name is Jin Qian. I hope you enjoyed this episode and stay tuned to the next episode of Beyond Politics. And of course, stay tuned to Oz Arab Media.
Yeah, well done.